Welcome to Chart's free webinar series. Today we have Sarah Morrissey presenting on Elevate Yourself from Trainer to Organizational Influencer. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am not able to see your faces, so I'm imagining them all in my mind. Thank you for being here. And I had the opportunity to present this session live at our last chart conference twice. And so it's all very fresh in my mind and adjusted a little bit for webinar instead of in person, but we hopefully, not hopefully, I know you'll take at least one thing from our time today. For those that don't know me, I am Sarah Morrissey. I have been with Chart, a member of Chart for 15 years. I served on the board for 5 and was president for 2 of those. So I single-handedly, this is the best organization I've ever been part of, the best decision I've ever made for my career. And I'm just so thankful for opportunities to gather with people like you and to share the things that I've learned and to learn from each of you. So I want to start today. We're going to be talking about elevating yourself from trainer or insert job title here, really anything. Elevating yourself to be more of an organizational influencer. Now, let's start by being clear on the fact that I did not write the book on this. I am not an expert on this. I'm not a huge influencer, but I do have 600 followers, 600 and I wrote it down, 77 followers on Instagram, 1,605 on Twitter that I refuse to call X, and 3,200 on LinkedIn. So I that doesn't mean I influence anything. It just means I have a lot of friends. But what I do have is a lot of experience, and I've had a lot of great mentors and leaders who have helped me learn the things that I'm going to share with you. So I think each of us has had a moment where we really felt like an influencer. Maybe you were on the cutting edge of cosmopolitans. I'm dating myself. Maybe you were on the cutting edge of parachute pants. Maybe you were, you know, the first person who started perming your hair. Wow, I need more recent examples. Uh, the remove double talking. I'm sorry about that. I'll see if anybody else can contribute to that. I'm watching the chat. Um, so when is the last time you've really influenced something at work? And when I look back, my first HR job um, was in a 4-star hotel. I was 24 years old. And I thought that I was an influencer because I had a really loud voice. I wasn't afraid to say anything. And I sort of walked around and made it my job to catch people doing things wrong or breaking rules. I thought that was very innovative. I thought that was what was making me an influencer. And obviously that was not the key. So that isn't what I'm going to say to do, being the biggest voice in the room. It sometimes comes in handy when you're influencing, but that is definitely not. I was accidentally influential in that way, in that there's a couple things that I did that are still true to this day. I lead with love. I start with love first. If I don't love my people, then I really don't feel like serving them. So that is something I do that I think is different from a lot of people in that practice in HR. And also just it doesn't value or it doesn't benefit anybody to show up inauthentically. If you are not showing up as your authentic self, there are ways to make your authentic self show up and communicate in a way that can be influential. So today I'm going to talk with you about the mindset, the tools, the resources, the levers that we can pull, the things that we can do to be more influential in our organizations. So I want to start by asking, what do you do? And so if you could put in the chat What do you do for a living? What's your job? This is the participation part where a few of you can write your answer in the chat. Okay, I see a lot of titles. Tell me what you do. Okay. Lead people to change for improvement. Thank you. Help people learn how to create training for. Okay. This is great. This is exactly what I expected to see. And I'm going to pick on or pick at or engage my good friend Angelina as the example. She says, I support the growth of individuals across all levels of the organization. I support the growth of individuals across all levels of the organization. I improve systems. I create trainings. These are things I'm saying, but for Angelina, I support the growth of individuals across all levels of the organization. So I want each of you to keep in mind what you're writing here. Write it down if you need to. And I'm going to share 2 words that are going to change how you think about what it is that you do. They're very simple words. Those words are so that. So going back to Angelina, I support the growth of individuals across all levels of the organization so that, and if you leave now and do not come back to this webinar, that's what I want you to take with you. You need to have something that comes after the so that connects to your business goals, that connects to your operation, that connects to everything that's happening in your business. I also want you to think about something that you're trying to do, an initiative that you might be working on, something that you are needing buy-in to get adoption. And I want you to make a note of that too. And we're going to put this all together at the end, like any good session, wrapping it all up together. And what you will end up doing is tying the what you do to the initiatives, to the goals that you have in a way that's meaningful to the business, which isn't always the same way that it's meaningful to us or to our hearts. So that are those 2 words. And we'll get to what should come after that in a minute. So let's start about the power of the mindset first. Here's the thing, training does not drive revenue. And I'm very sorry. A lot of these things that hurt my soul to say, and they're true. Training alone does not drive revenue. It doesn't. What drives revenue is changes in behavior. And that's where training comes in. So behavior is what drives revenue. So when behaviors change, outcomes change, right? Training itself does not do that. So let's think about the mindset as a trainer. Think about the mindset of what you measure. What are some things that you pay attention to, things that you, and you can put your answers in the chat. This is more interactive probably than a lot of webinars, but it's important. What are some things that you measure as a trainer or an operator? Some of the things might be your completion rate, might be logistics, might be room set, retention. That's a good one. Pre and post testing, delivery, logistics. These are the things that we think about. I remember so I worked in hotels for 23 years before coming over to the tech side. And I was so proud, and I still am a little bit, when I had 100% completion on a training. That was it. That was the part of training that I was held to, and that was the metric that was measured. And so that's where I stopped. I stopped at, well, I now have 100% completion rate. And the problem with that is that that mindset of just being in the training space is what limits us. Compliance, turnover, career advancement, cleanliness, friendliness, all of the things. Yes. And now I want you to shift your mind to being more strategic. And I want you to be able to say, not, I completed this, not, my turnover rate is XYZ. I want you to be able to say and articulate, I know how this training will lead to widespread adoption first. The adoption will last in a way that changes behavior, and that will result in business performance improvement. And I can prove it. That is a tall order. And being able to say that is how you will elevate yourself from trainer to influencer. You need to think about outcomes in a different way. Completion and retention is not enough. It's the behavior that has to change. So an example that I share of strategic thinking wasn't, it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn. I'm not. I'm a very curious, naturally curious person. So I like to dig into the why things are happening. So we had a situation, for those of you that work in full service hotels, we have banquet operations, we have restaurant operations, we might have a lobby bar, we might have room service, lots of different food outlets. And the restaurant general manager came to me in charge of training and said, we've had this incentive going for a month now where we're incentivizing the servers to upsell soup. It was the dead of winter in Minnesota. So having a soup incentive totally made sense. No matter what, these servers are not upselling the soup. What is going on? Can you find out? How many times do we get asked to fix something from a training perspective that has nothing maybe to do with training? But for those of us who are self-diagnosed or maybe externally diagnosed fixers who feel the need to fix right away, please resist the urge to do that. That makes you a tactician. That makes you a transactional leader, trainer. Strategic thinkers say things like, why is this happening? If I was knowing I was going to make more money by upselling the soup, it should be easy. It's winter in the tundra, and it's just not happening. So what did I do that was so wildly strategic, no one could have ever thought about it before? I asked questions. And I went and talked to the servers in the restaurant. And I said, guys, what's going on? What's going on with this soup incentive? Why isn't it happening? Turns out one of them with whom I had built a good relationship, others kind of looked down, didn't want to, HR's in the room kind of thing. And she said, because banquets takes all the soup spoons. And I said, say more about that, because that's something that I say a lot. And she said, we are not wanting to offer soup to anyone because the spoons get taken. I said, what do you mean? Well, we have them at night when we close, and then in the morning when we open for lunch, they're not there. And we found banquets was taking them down to the banquets kitchen and hoarding them. And hoarding is not uncommon in this situation when different outlets share supplies and share cutlery and things like that. So here I was tempted to create a training or to say, maybe we should do some sort of horse racing board and a contest to see who can sell the most. It wouldn't have mattered. It would not have mattered what I would have come up with from a training angle because the training wasn't the problem. And that is, again, very fundamental because I just asked questions. Why the leader didn't ask those questions is a whole other story for a whole other webinar. And it's just an example of resisting the urge to fix, resisting the urge to be transactional, and resisting the need to jump in and do versus stepping back and thinking about it. And it's important to start with adjusting our mindset because we have a perception problem. And the perception problem for us is that we are transactional, that we are, concerned with just completion rates, those types of things. But learning and development, training, and even HR in general has a perception problem in that what is visible to our executive team is what? We're a cost center, a line item, expensive compliance, overhead department, and my favorite, non-revenue generating business unit. I'm like, that's a really fancy way to say the first place you're going to cut is my training line. But we know that we can make change. We know that we can be transformational. We know the benefits we can bring to our organization. We just aren't using the language and the tactics we need to use so that people in the executive space see what's beneath. And when the perception of ourselves changes into being more strategic, so does the perception of others, particularly the executives in our organization. So this is math time, which I made notes because I'm not math. So worldwide, companies spend $400 billion on learning and development each year, which is almost the total annual revenue of Amazon. So if you break that down, every single of the 8 billion people in the world, if you broke it down, would get $50. Every single living person would get $50. That's a lot of money. And when the conference board did a CEO survey to find out how many CEOs say L&D is an important driver of business success, 1 in 8 said yes. There is a disconnect between the money spent on L&D and believing that it is a business driver. So we have a perception problem about how we think and how we talk about what we do. And on the bigger scale, there's a perception issue with our whole discipline. I report to my CFO, which was very interesting and at first daunting for me because my belief was great. There's one place that does not understand the world of people development and training and HR, it's finance, right? I was wrong. And in fact, my CFO wrote an article earlier this year on how learning and development leaders can better communicate and better partner with finance, with the C-suite to show the ROI of development. So he's very HR forward, very training forward, but I was not using the language after this many years in the profession. I was not using the language that he needed me to use to make sense as to why we needed certain training initiatives or learning and development initiatives. So it's all about shifting from what's sometimes called overhead expense and tying what we do to the metrics that matter. So we are going to talk about the 3 levers of influence that we have available to us to pull and push and shift in order. You can see the brand mark here at the bottom that I didn't change out, a little shout out to the Boston conference. Three levers of influence that we have to become more strategic. So they are all about understanding the business, not just the training curriculum that you have. So the first one we're going to talk about is trust, and that means credibility. And there are a lot of ways to build this and a lot of ways to leverage it. And there are a few that I'd like to challenge you to use. So I'm giving you challenges today. It's not homework because I won't follow up with you, but they are just challenges, little challenges to help you meet the C-suite of your organization halfway, or even your leader above you. And the first one is using language that matters, and that we'll get to knowing the values and the metrics of the business. But what this means, and I just had a conversation this morning with my chief marketing officer about language and about how important it is to say things like our shared goal, our, we, not I will put together this training and give it to you. It's we will develop this, we will be collaborative. Using inclusive language seems like such a teeny tiny thing, and it makes such a difference because it imparts partnership and that we are all having the same goal. We're focused on the same goal. And using I and they, or we and you, can really subconsciously sort of build up that wall that you're needing to break down in order to be a strategic partner. I am notorious for putting notes on my monitor, or in the old days by my telephone that had a cord, to remind me of things in conversations, whether it be ask more questions, whether it be resist the urge to fix. This was one that I put up as a reminder to myself when I was writing emails and Slack messages. This is about us moving toward a goal together. This is not about what I'm going to do and then hand over to you. Having the right tools. This is mostly what I'm thinking about here is whatever you're learning or using to track learning. And if it's an LMS, this is not a commercial for Skooks whatsoever. Whatever tools you're using, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, this doesn't really apply. But if you are using a software platform that is not giving you tools and reports and output that show how your training is connected to business outcomes, I want to challenge you to find a way that it can. And what that looked like for me was, before I was in this job working for an LMS, I called my LMS provider, my CSM that I had known, and I said, I know there are parts of the system I'm not using. I know there are things that could be making me look like a rock star that I'm not using. Tell me what they are. What dashboards am I not using? What integration am I not using? And all that tech stuff honestly really scares me. And it made a big difference. It was, well, if you can upload XYZ, then we can have this on your dashboard. And I would not have known if I didn't ask. So ask your learning platform provider how they can make you look even better at what you do. Third is knowing your business inside and out. That is bigger than just knowing what your business does. That means having business acumen. That means, and this is going to be very scary, but finding a friend in finance, that just dawned on me. Find a friend in finance and say, I want to understand the financials. I want to understand what is happening as a business from revenue on down. One of the best things I ever learned when I started in hotels was how to read a profit and loss statement. You start noticing things and how things all work together instead of sort of staying in your little bubble. So the third challenge is learn your financials, learn what the metrics are, the targets, and maybe you already do, and that's great. But if you don't, find out. Those are my three tricks that aren't tricks for building credibility with your executives and becoming more influential and a better business partner. And be curious. Business fluency is what builds credibility. And if you don't have business acumen and a holistic knowledge of your organization, everything can look like a training problem. If I didn't have the relationship and the knowledge of restaurant operations, as elementary as it was, to go ask the question, I wouldn't have known about the soup spoons. So let's talk about the second lever, which is connections. Always be ready, say yes to opportunities, be accountable, and deliver on what you say. Do what you say you're going to do. It sounds tiny, it's huge. We all know people who say they're going to do a lot of things, but don't necessarily deliver, and we don't want to be that person. Being ready means being ready to roll up your sleeves, whatever the opportunity is. You go in and you do it. For me, during COVID, that looked like running the dish pit at my hotel. We were still operating, full service hotel. I started at age 14 at Pizza Hut as a dishwasher, and I thought it was the most magical thing that I could just put dirty stuff in a rack and put it in this big silver box, and it would come out the other side looking beautiful most of the time. It delighted me to go to the dish pit every day and take care of the dishes because we had furloughed all of our dishwashers. And what my boss started seeing was, I'm going to ask her to do other things. I'm going to ask her what she thinks about other things. So a lot of times our executives or our leaders give us an opportunity to stretch or give us opportunities to raise our hand, and that builds your connection, that builds your approachability, which is really important, and it builds your understanding of the operation. So whatever it is, if it's bussing tables, washing dishes, cleaning guest rooms, whatever, cleaning restrooms and guest rooms, whatever the case may be, say yes to those opportunities so that you can increase your visibility. Because when you increase your visibility, you increase your familiarity, and people start understanding, yeah, this is the person who always jumps in. This is the person who's there when there's an all hands on deck. And trust grows from visible results. If you do what you say you're going to do, and you say something as simple as, hey, I'm going to make a XYZ for a bulletin board in the back of the house, and you do it, that's what builds your connection and your credibility. Influence is relational before it's strategic. And this second point is really, really important because I used to think they were two different things because people told me they were two different things and that you couldn't be warm as an HR practitioner. You do not have to lose warmth to gain influence. Connection earns trust. Last lever is value, and this is about knowing the most important metrics and aligning your initiatives to those metrics and showing the impact with data. So go back to the beginning when I said, what do you do? And you wrote down the things that you do, and I said, add the two really important critical words, so that. How many, oh, see, I thought we were in person again. Not how many of you, because I can't see your hands. If you know the top 3 to 5, hopefully not more than 3 most important metrics to your company, you need to be tying everything that you do to those metrics. And that's what comes after the so that. If you do not know the top 3 metrics, the top 3 business initiatives, the top 3 things keeping your executive team up at night, go find out. Ask the question. And you know what? I still ask because sometimes it shifts. And I have a direct path, more direct than I would like sometimes, to my CFO, who I report to. And I'll say, are these 3 things still what's most important? Because this is what we said in January. Has it shifted? And while everything that we do does not always tie directly, I'm doing bloodborne pathogen training, I'm doing anti-harassment training. Can I tie that to bringing in net new logos and net new business? No. What it can tie to is creating an environment that's safe so that the people who are doing these other things aren't distracted by things like sexual harassment or needle sticks. So being able to align everything that you do with a metric is what fills in the so that statement. So I build training, I support development so that insert here what that metric is. So a couple final thoughts on value. Value is defined by what leaders measure. Oh, now let me give you a little pep talk here. You have value. Your value is inherent. Your value is not a variable. Value in terms of your work product is defined by what leaders measure, not what feels good in our heart, not the PowerPoint that looks extra cute. It's determined by what our leaders measure. So when you tie your work to what is measured, it becomes relevant, and then relevance creates value. A final note on visibility. So a lot of times people want visibility, they want more visibility, they want more responsibility, they want, and feel that they've earned it. But the way to earn visibility is by being a strategic business partner. And a couple things to remember on that is, you know, a lot of times visibility follows value. Once you have shown that you understand the business inside and out and how everything that you do ties to the business outcomes, you will become more valuable, and visibility follows value. So walk into the rooms and the conversations knowing that you're confident, knowing that you're valued, you're here for a reason, your voice is important, taming your nerves, and having that so that statement will help you with that. Instead of saying, we need a new leadership training program, or we need a new policy on XYZ. So that is going to be the most important part. Showing initiative, anticipating questions. Surround yourself. A lot of you have heard the term personal board of directors. And, or maybe you haven't, but I think I heard it first at a chart conference. I have people on my personal board of directors that hype me up no matter what. There's a lot of them on this call right now. I have people on my personal board of directors that poke holes in everything I do, say, and think of. One of those is my boss, my CFO, and I thank him for that. I thank him for that every day. We need people around us who are going to say, what about? I love that. Have the person who gives you gentle feedback. Have the person who says, I'm going to sit here and listen while you pop off about something random for 5 minutes. Make sure you know who's in your circle that can fill each of those needs, because we have to be able to think strategically about ourselves as well. And that means not being in an echo chamber of people who think every idea that we have is fantastic. So let's go back to what you said in the beginning when you wrote down, here's what I do, so that you wrote down what you did. You wrote down, and thank you for doing that and indulging me. I want you to think about the so that. How can you fill in the rest of that sentence? I do this, I do this, I do this. All very important things. So that, and tie it to something that matters to your business. Seems overly simple, and it makes all the difference when you are shifting your mindset from trainer to influencer. So in closing, just a few things to remember. Operations drives hospitality. We know that. Revenue is driven by operational performance. And if you influence performance, you influence revenue. Everybody loves money. And when you influence revenue, you influence strategy. And again, it sounds simple. And if we put it into practice and change our mindset and adjust those levers, it can be. Also think about which of those levers could you fine tune, or which could you work on or pour more energy into? Is it your relationships? Is it your business acumen? Is it your credibility? Is it your willingness to jump in and roll up your sleeves? Where could you focus? What lever could you be moving a little bit more effectively? And I want to know how it goes. I want to know if you're able to employ anything that you have heard today, or if you just want to chat, give me a shout. I first did this session at our Louisville conference, no, New Orleans, this earlier this year, and I had a few people reach out and tell me that they had a fun finance friend, and they learned so much about their business, and it just seems so simple, and it's only simple if you do it and if you follow through. And I would love to support you in that. And what you do is important, and what we all do is important. It's just being able to tie it to the outcomes that are most important to the overall business. So I will end it there and welcome any questions or comments you might have.
Okay, there are no questions that I have in here right now, so we just have to give people a minute to put it in there.
Perfect.
It was I'm just a lot of comments that I threw out.
I saw the comments up until now. So,
Okay.
uh,
And if there were any questions that we haven't addressed yet, then I missed it because there were so many comments. So,
and feel free to reach out. Like I said, if there's something that comes to your mind that you just want to talk about, or you need just a place to bounce an idea off, or how to frame something that you're about to present, reach out to me. I always like to talk, even if I don't have great ideas. I'll do my best to support you.
oh, okay. I have one person that has their hand up.
Kat,
Kat, Kat, I'm gonna allow you to talk to see if you have a question.
I'm gonna allow you to talk, Kat.
Well, I'm going to take you off mute. So, Kat, I have taken you off mute. You have to take yourself off mute too if you did have a question. Sometimes the hand raises on accident. Let me see if there's any other questions.
Yeah, that can happen. Oh, you don't need to apologize, Kat.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Okay, well, if there are not any questions, you can send any questions directly to Sarah yourself. She's left her email up here so you can follow up directly with her.
Absolutely.
Sarah, thank you so much. This was excellent.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for
Goodbye.
being here,
And this will
everyone.
be posted later today. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.